Yo, Pierre, you want to come out here?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of UPR, your favorite weekly Arsenal podcast. Every week, a group of gunners from different parts of the world will discuss, analyze, and argue over topics related to our favorite club, Arsenal, in Tonglish, a mix of English and Tamil. We have great episodes every week, so listen on. So, hello and welcome to episode 5 of Your Pierre, your weekly Arsenal podcast. Joining me again today is Rohit from Connecticut. Pravin is missing this week. We have two more new faces joining us from the Big Apple and thereabouts today. That's Prasna, also known as Q. For ease of use, we are going to be continuing to refer to him as Q throughout this podcast. And we have Arvind from New Jersey. So, guys, you can introduce yourselves, starting with Arvind.
Hey guys, this is Arvind in New Jersey. Been an Arsenal fan since a little after the Invincible era, so my fandom has been mostly with disappointment, but looking forward to Arsenal.
And Prasna. Welcome, Arvind and Prasna.
Hi everybody, Prasna here. Like Arun said, you guys can call me Q. I think I started flirting with Arsenal way back in like '98. That's when they had Bergkamp, and I think Bergkamp had this amazing goal in the '98 World Cup. I don't know if you guys remember. Again.
Oh yeah, that made me the fan. That made me a fan of the club.
And then that kind of pointed me to Arsenal, and then flirting became a serious relationship, and then over time it became
Despair, agony, and any other negative emotion.
Lows of any any relationship. And now hopefully we can do stuff with Arteta coming back.
Of course.
A couple of more promising things.
Of course.
Hopefully it's bright. That's a little bit about me. Thanks, Arnie. Happy to be here.
Great. Welcome to the show. So, as you might have noticed, I make quite a few pronunciation mistakes while I'm speaking English. So, just to tell you guys that Tamil is our mother tongue. All four of us again are very comfortable in Tamil. So, we'll keep switching between English and Tamil throughout the podcast. So, we had a very exciting and eventful and controversial last few days, which has given us quite a few interesting topics to discuss about in this episode. So, here we start. So, first of all, boys, what time is it?
Time to party!
It's party time to party! So, a transfer that has been like in the works for a long time. If you read any reports, you'll see that Partey, the first contact we made was even when he was young, we wanted to get him in, but he joined Atletico, and we've been like in contact with him since 2018. So, what does this really mean for the team and for the squad and for this season? So, Arvind, உங்ககிட்ட start பண்ணலாம் first. So, in the Parteyயோட signing, what does it mean for the club right now? I know Auba's signing was huge, but in the மாதிரி ஒரு situationல with the last day, the way in which we signed him, especially, the way in which we signed him, அதை பத்தி like what do you think it means for the club now, right now?
So I think to give you a sense of what it means, நம்ம the Sheffield game ஓட last ஒரு few minutes பார்த்தோம்னா we kind of went to a back four formation, which I think is predominantly useful for our attacks, especially given the fact that we don't have a creative midfielder as it is. In the signing will help us switch to that back four. On the switch we'll be able to play that one extra player in the midfield that will help us put the ball through. Ceballos this season வந்து நல்லா ரெண்டு மூணு த்ரூ பால்ஸ்லாம் பியூட்டிஃபுல்லா போட்டான், and அந்த potential unleash பண்றதுக்கு we need that pivot. So that pivot, especially with the physical presence, it kind of reminds me of the Santi Cazorla Francis Coquelin partnership we had in 2015-16, I think that after the Cazorla injury, we kind of derailed towards the end of that season. But with Partey coming in, it is definitely going to help us bring those days back and then kind of make a progressive shift towards attack.
Okay, so an interesting point about Party is அவனோட presence வந்து in the midfield. I just want to like talk about this particular game against Anfield, Liverpool at Anfield. So literally when the on the ஒரு game தான் like அது வரைக்கும் I'd seen about Party, like I heard about Party, I'd seen him in the Atletico order, the game that we played in the Europa League. They go down 10 men and still they managed to draw the game, if I remember right. Because this guy comes in and plays right back. And he had a stellar game there. Similarly, again, Liverpool game, he bossed the midfield. And we're not talking about any ordinary team here. We're talking about like team those champions of the the Champions League. They won the Champions League the previous year. And the Vashon, they were very well on target to go to win the league. So in the Mari or a midfield player, like the one someone who can boss the midfield. It's beyond like just strengthening our midfield. What does it give us? Like beyond just strengthening our midfield, what does it give us? Like Arvind mentioned, like it gives us the extra creative player. But apart from that, what does it provide us? Does it like it's a shield?
So one of the attributes of our midfield are most team members, right? We never seem to have a 90-minute team game. There are players who we have who have like one or two errors in them, one or two moments where they lose their concentration. But I think Partey is one of those people, one of those players who gets that consistency. He have like 90 minutes of concentration. He doesn't have a lot of mistakes in him. Like his mistakes are probably one in like 5 games or 1 in 10 games, which is when you're playing a crucial connecting role between your defense and your attacking players, right? That's what you need. That kind of a linking chain where you need a player who plays a clean game, who can read games. I think that's that's another dimension that we kind of lack. அது வந்து ரொம்ப இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங்காக இருந்தது. The first thing I look at players when Arsenal are bringing in, right? Can they do the basic things right? Aspirational players இருக்கட்டும், பெப்பேலாம் இருக்கட்டும், ஓகேவா? He can dribble, he can like you want troops call பண்ற மாதிரி, you can be a spinning top and all that, Ceballos. All that aside, yeah, you need to perform your role. Everybody has a role to play in the team. Can you play that role well? Alright? முன்னாடி சொல்லுவாங்க பாத்தியா இதெல்லாம் commentators-லாம், are you being a passenger or are you being a player? We need players who are not passengers, because strikers can be passengers because they don't play a vital role. I mean, they do, but they can have an off game. It's a 38 games a season, so we can like live with that. But when you're in midfield and when you're in defense, even if you have one bad day, it hurts your points. It hurts our points.
It's Ananda Sonada, like very true. Like the consistency. He's actually a guy who's always known to be consistent. He maintains this concentration throughout the game. So இந்த மாதிரி வந்து ஒரு பிளேயர் வந்து I don't think we've had a player who maintains his concentration throughout the game and can boss the midfield. I think since the time of Vieira and Gilberto, if I remember right. அதுக்கப்புறம் வந்து like there were players Flamini, Coquelin and everyone. But யாருமே வந்து they were not to the level of those guys who would like shield. Okay, on the midfield வந்துனா we can be happy that it's not going to cross them. Even if it does, அவங்களோட recovery rate வந்து ரொம்ப ஹையாக இருக்கும். So Rohit, in the question for you, do you think we finally found a replacement for Vieira and Gilberto? Is it all positive? Like interception rate எல்லாமே பார்த்தா சூப்பரா இருக்கு, but is it finally that we found the replacement?
I'm not sure like if we have found a replacement for Vieira, but I'll definitely say that he's more of a 90% match for Gilberto Silva, because when Gilberto was playing, he was very underrated. If you remember the Invincibles, we never gave that much importance to Gilberto, but he was the invisible wall. Like he formed the wall which would be like breaking up any kind of a counter-attacking football. So he played a similar kind of a role in Atletico. Like in Atletico, you have so many stars, right? But Partey was kind of like he was least paid. He was very underpaid. He performed selflessly without keeping any expectations. And any kind of an attack when it's supposed to start, or when the opponents are like, even against the pacey players like Messi, we just saw the video like how he bossed against Messi. That was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
amazing. That was like one of the best defensive midfield performance against Messi, like without doubt. So I would definitely say that he may not be a Vieira, but definitely he'll be in the mold of Gilberto.
Okay. So other இன்னொரு பாயிண்ட் வந்து like again he will be in the mold of Inverto, he'll be shielding everything. So he'll do you guys think that he'll contribute a lot more to attack this season? I'm asking you this question because of the fact that we do not have a creative player bar Ceballos, and Ceballos is not consistent enough to be our main creative player. So in the point lavande, do you think it's going to be putting a lot more pressure on him to be a creative or like a dynamic presence that is more in the final third of the pitch than the middle? So in the idu vandu like is it going to come in his way of doing things, the basic things like Prasanna said? He's playing with Xhaka. So Xhaka is someone who can have 3 good games, but then the 4th game would be a mess. Again, he's a guy who is not always like 90 minutes concentration. No, he's not that kind of a guy. So are we putting like too much pressure on Partey and expecting miracles from him, Arvind?
I think pressure of signing for a club like Arsenal, it's always very high. So, and especially coming to Premier League from La Liga, where the La Liga of football is more fluid, small intricate passes, and you coming to a place where a lot of long balls being played, you've got to track the runs. And naturally the expectations are going to be high, the pressure is going to be high. But what defines players, and especially the price tag on players, is that how good you're able to absorb these kind of situations. So we have seen people like Mo Salah, Kevin De Bruyne, one the season they've been able to produce a lot, and they've not only been able to produce, they've also been able to be fit for a very long period of time. So இதெல்லாம் although they're all attacking players, and we're talking about a defensive midfielder here, somebody like Rodrigo, who came from La Liga 2 seasons ago, I think Rodrigo kita, there was not a lot of expectations because he had somebody like Fernandinho in his peak.
Right.
So he could be that shadow. Inga he is expected to be that commander, enforcer in the midfield. The pressure, naturally it's going to be high, but again, what are we expecting from Arsenal this season? Top 4 finish. It's probably a big bonus. We want to go win the Europa League and get to Champions League that way too. So Andamari games, I'm pretty sure Partey is going to shine a lot, and especially given the fact that there are no fans in the stadiums this season, it's even going to help him a lot more. He's not going to hear that banter. He's going to be able to express that. So I think pressure okay, but I feel he's capable of handling it.
Cool. So, one interesting point you mentioned, like we can, I was about to ask all of you guys. So, Partey or the presence, does it mean that we can finally start playing 4-3-3? And if yes, whom do you guys think should be the midfield 3 right now, given our resources and who all we have? So, Prashna, Q. யாரெல்லாம் ஆடலாம்னு நினைக்கிற midfield 3? ஆடினோன்னா
4-3-3, definitely Partey. I think Xhaka, because in his recent last 6 to 12 months, I think he's proven that he can like change and adapt and do all those things. And I think he also has that little bit of creative side and a little bit of deeper passes in him. He's not the creative player like Kevin De Bruyne or Silva or like Ozil, but the first obvious pass or the second obvious pass, you'll see. The Ozils of the world will see the third pass or the fourth pass, like Anderlam combination performance. So Xhaka is definitely there. I think the third one is kind of interesting. Ceballos, he's the player who's doing really well recently as well. So I think given this is a long season, and I think it's going to be some combination of William, Ceballos, and AMN. I think that should be that rotation, given that we have the likes of Reece Nelson, Willock to play the other league games and not the other FA Cup, but the other smaller cups. I think should provide a good option for Arteta. I think the core, just to reiterate, would be Partey and then Xhaka, with the other being rotated depending on how or what tactics Arteta wants to choose on that kind of lineup.
Rohit, your three options. Who do you think we would be playing if at all we play 4-3-3?
I would go with Partey, Xhaka, and Saka. So on the left hand side, I would like to have Saka. I mean, like because when you want to start an attack, right? Like, see, you have Xhaka who will be like deep lying. Partey would be like the defensive shield, and Saka from the left would initiate that particular run, which will be like vital for us because we'll have Tierney, Saka, and Aubameyang. So our left would be like really strong. And in the right, we may choose between Pepe or Willian. So if Willian is going to play, Pepe can be like replaced with him. So it's like that. And as the game progresses, we would like to see they switch sides and Oba coming to the center. If Laka is not going to be in the center, like Oba should move to the center and Saka can move even more further. So I would like to see that combination and bring on Ceballos in the middle and then take Saka in the left wing so that he can come and then he can put on those crosses. So I would go with Saka in the middle and then we can just switch, as Q said, we can just switch between Ceballos or Eamon or anyone who would be able to do that duty.
Interesting, Saka. Interesting. He's been having a great season so far.
So one thing I'd like to interject that I feel like having Saka on the left and Shaka on the right will probably put a little bit more pressure on Shaka, especially because he's predominantly left-footed and he doesn't have that dribbling capability to kind of go away from tight spaces. அது வந்து கொஞ்சம் கஷ்டம். So if you're playing Shaka, his preferred position or the strength in him lies when you put him on the left side. And that means the right spot is pretty much open. I would play Ceballos, and we've seen Willian kind of drift into that space as well in the first 3 or 4 games this season. So that would probably be the only counter to that in terms of Shaka's left-footed capability.
Yeah, and your three in the midfield?
I think I would go with, for now, I would go with the traditional Partey, Shaka and Ceballos. But I think the way Bukayo Saka has played in the season, and Shaka out of position, he's excelled a lot. He's played that second pass or the third pass very, very well, especially the West Ham, the winner, he saw that through pass to Ceballos.
Yeah.
So that means you're potentially, stopping the development. But then again, Saka's only 18. He's got ways to go. And I think we have a lot of games this season where Saka and Shaka would be kind of on the boom shakalaka.
வந்துரும் boom shakalaka வந்துரும். So இப்போ வந்து like we spoke about like all the midfield trios. For me also, I think for now I think we would be like going with Ceballos, Partey and Xhaka. So இப்போ வந்து the Partey transfer, like now this is the last part of the Partey transfer that we're going to be talking about. Last minute, last day, last 3 hours they did not talk to Atletico. They went straight to the Liga, which was very, like very direct. And it's usually நம்ம வந்து ரொம்ப ஹேகிள் பண்ணி last minuteல போவோம். So but then we went straight 45 million. Atletico were pissed. We were almost also, I think, blocking Torreira's move at that point. So Atletico were really pissed. They said the relationship is irreparable right now. So it's not that I really care about the relationship that we have with Atletico, but in the Mario, do you guys think that this last move just means that we were going for both Aouar and Partey and not just Partey? Because in the transfer clause, 45 million, no matter what, if a team pays it, the player has to go. So we were like not making any moves for Partey from the beginning. This is my reasoning. So I just like to know what you guys think. So Aouarla தான் நம்ம முதல்ல போயிட்டே இருந்தோம். Any 60 கேட்டாலும் நம்ம first 30 கொடுத்தோம். That's a totally different issue. கொஞ்சம் push பண்ணியிருந்தோம்னா we might have gotten him. So do you guys think that we were always in for both, or was it just one or the other? Anyone can go first.
I think I'll take a stab at this. In business, right? What people like is optionality. Right? Nobody wants to make a choice early on. People pay for optionality. நம்ம கோர்ஸ்லாம் படிக்கும் போது ஆப்ஷன்ஸ் அண்ட் புட்ஸ் அண்ட் கால்ஸ் அப்படிலாம் கேட்பாங்க. எதுக்கு அதெல்லாம் வாங்கணும்? ஆப்ஷனாலிட்டிக்கு தான். ஸோ So they
என்னடா ஆர்சனல் பாட்காஸ்ட்னு நினச்சா ஏதோ 500 லெவல் 600 லெவல் கோர்ஸ்லாம் எடுத்துகிட்டு இருக்கேன்.
so optionality has always value. Okay, wow. இப்போ நீ வந்து கொஞ்சம் யோசிச்சு பாரு. If I'm spending 45 million on day 20 of our break, which is like early August, okay? Imagine if another deal for Gabriel comes in and we are not able to pay that. I don't know if we have funds or not. So you want to have that optionality. We knew that one, other clubs are not going for party. Okay? Why do you want to like leave that money on the table so early on? And at the same time, Harvard, think about it. Pepe was an $80 million transfer, 80 million pounds or whatever the number was.
72.
We were not supposed to pay all that money in 1 year.
No, we're not paying still, yeah.
Yeah, 4 years, 5 years,
5 years.
whatever. So again, and the optionality number, we are looking at the transfer on the single dimension. When you want to look at it for different angles, I think that makes sense why they did it that way. Imagine if they had got a good deal for our, so they can have the optionality to keep Torreira or move things around. But now that they know that Aurora is not happening, they can always fall back because the fail back option is not going to go away anywhere. And the optionality and all that, I think Vinay, Edu, and all those guys.
இப்போ நீ ஃபெயில் பேக் ஆப்ஷன் சொன்னால் பார்ட்டி ஃபெயில் பேக் ஆப்ஷன் சொல்கிறியா? ஃபர்ஸ்ட் அவர் இஸ் த மெயின் ஆப்ஷன், பார்ட்டி இஸ் ஃபெயில் பேக் ஆப்ஷன் சொல்கிறியா?
No, optionality, main option is to keep optionality for other deals that can happen. Because நம்ம தெரிஞ்சது வந்து Aurora and like party. அதுக்கு பின்னாடி வந்து நிறைய டீல்ஸ் தான் நடந்துக்கலாம். I mean, who knew that we were going to sign like Martinelli? Like Teriman, the deal on that, he was like a brilliant player. Okay? So we don't know all these deals that happen. They might have cash flows for different things. அதுக்காக தான் வந்து it's generally better to wait. இப்போ நீ வந்து கிரெடிட் கார்டு ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட் ஒன்று வருதுன்னு வச்சுக்கோ, day 1 பே பண்ணி என்ன பண்ண போறா? டியூ டேட்ல வந்தா பே பண்ண போறாதா?
அப்பா என்னமா அனாலஜி பிடிக்கிறான்டா. ஸோ இது சொல்றது ஓகே, ஆப்ஷன்ஸ் வச்சிருக்காங்க, ஓகே, லைக் தட்ஸ் அ வெரி குட் பாயிண்ட்.
Business decision.
Yeah, that's true. In the beginning la vandu you got a very good, brought a very good point. In mari vandu if you pay right away, the clubs are going to know that you have all the money that you have, and definitely adu vandu haggling point la vandu it is going to like drive the price of the player up for sure. The club is not going to come down. So இப்போ வந்து இப்படி இருக்கிறப்ப does anyone want to take another like stab at that, or like I have another question for you guys as well, but just on the same topic, like where we end for both, or was it just one of the two?
Yeah, so see, what we did was really steep move. Okay, அது வந்து no doubt about it. Like நம்ம வந்து last minute la pay கொடுத்தப்புறம் Atletico wouldn't be having an option to have like kind of a personal call with Partey or anything, nothing. Another Atletico submitted a contract extension for Partey way back in March, which he rejected. So அவன் வந்து அதை reject பண்ணான், which was like substantially lower than what Arsenal had offered.
Yeah.
So there was, and what we have been hearing currently is there have been some discussions which have been taking place between Partey and Arteta, like in terms of and which Partey had demanded which role he wants to play in Arsenal. So அதெல்லாமே நடந்திருக்கு backgroundல, which we are not aware of. So that kind of a discussion had happened. So இதெல்லாம் போயிட்டு இருக்கும்போது, and moreover this is like a kind of a slap in the face for Simeone, because Simeone had in fact called Torreira and he had told like how he is visioning to play Partey and Torreira
together. Yeah.
That was really a good slap in the face for Simeone. So I really like that. So what we did. So அது வந்து இப்போ வந்து this is like a completely a shrewd kind of a business move, as well as making a statement. Definitely we made a statement in signing Partey. That's what I feel like. Or வந்து it was like it's kind of a luxury player for us. I mean, like I would say that he would bring a lot of creativity, but or வந்து giving 8 million to the agent, 8 to 10 million for the agent, and then signing OR for like 55 million. I don't think it is like, it is just like an exaggerated price for OR. That's what, like அவங்க 38 million I mean, like when they came for 45 million, we should have closed the deal that time. அதுக்கப்புறம் when they had interest from PSG or Real or anyone, I mean, like there were calls between Zidane and all that rumors had come. அது வந்து maybe it is just the PR doing some kind of stunt to make the price go up for Leon.
So, Rohit, the other point is like in the pandemic times, right? Everything is overpriced. The number of income streams for the clubs have gone down. So even if it was a 45 million pound release clause or 45 million euro, I don't know the exact number. Given that income sources are dropping, it's almost a premium at this point. So they have to be extremely careful.
But I think we got the right player.
Mm.
Definitely, I think we got the right player.
I was on our camp, but I don't know. I mean, like, I still would have preferred our.
So see, if you don't have the spine, if you don't have someone who would be like having that kind of a presence in the midfield, நீங்க என்னதான் creativity எடுத்துன்னு வந்தாலும், see, if you remember in 2009 to 2015, we had a lot of creative players. We had Fabregas, we had Nasri, we had Cazorla, we had Rosicki, we had so many creative players in the team, but we were not able to go and boss a team like how we used to do in 2003, 2004 because we had Gilberto and Vieira, and before that we had Petit. So, அந்த மாதிரி players இல்லாதனால தான் we never lack in creativity. Arsenal is not a club which lacks in creativity. அது உலகத்துக்கே தெரியும். So, நம்மளுக்கு வந்து spine தான் important. அந்த spine தான் Partey can give that particular option. Which that is why he is very critical than or. And we did the right decision.
Okay, so Arvind, அந்த பாயிண்ட்லாம் வந்து இது பண்ணோம். இப்போ unfortunately Rohit has had to take a work call, so he's dropped off the meeting now. He'll be joining sometime in the middle. So Arvind, coming back to you, இப்போ எல்லாமே இது பண்ணோம். அவ்வாறு வந்து ஆடம்பரம் பார்ட்டி அத்தியாவசியம் அந்த லெவலுக்கு பேசியாச்சு இப்போ. ஸோ இப்படி இருக்கிறப்போ வந்து இந்த do you think our ship has sailed? Do you think there is any possibility of us getting him in either in January or next summer, or do you think that ship has sailed given like the other big guys swooping around?
So first to your point, bedsheetla avada otte irukku, endha otte adacha enna என்னவே அத்தியாவசியம் தான் bottom third in chances created last season, so that would show you அத்தியாவசியம். To your question, I don't think the ship has completely sailed. One, Leon went from a Champions League club to no Champions League this season, and right now they are languishing mid-table. And number two, they have to balance their books. Their transfer for Depay fell off. Their transfer for Jeffrey Adelaide fell off.
It's true.
Which, by the way, Emery sold Jeffrey Adelaide for £650,000.
Yeah.
So he's moving for
27 million. Yeah.
There is blood on his hands.
Yeah.
He should be hired again, fired again.
இதெல்லாம் நமக்கு புதுசா பாஸ் பல அடி வாங்கியிருக்கோமே இந்த மாதிரி பிளேயர்ஸ் வச்சு.
இல்ல but this I guess the Partey transfer kind of revolutionized Arsenal's position as negotiators in the transfer world as well to an extent. I would say after all those mishaps, letting Ramsey walk was another point. But anyway, இங்க வந்து I think our is definitely a possibility come January, given the fact that Leon will have to balance their books. And I also think we can get him cheaper. But the key there, I think, would be because of the rumors that have come out that our transfer only got a shelf because the agent, who is our brother, wanted a lot in agent commission. அதனால தான் அந்த ட்ரான்ஸ்ஃபர் நடக்கல அப்படின்னு ஒரு ரூமர் இருக்கு. Unless if that is true, unless our changes his agency, I don't think we would be able to get him because he basically demanded about 60% of the entire transfer fee value as an agent commission. But again, without our, I think people like Dominic Szoboszlai, Said Benrahma. One is Dominic is obviously not in England, but Said Benrahma, he is playing in the Championship.
Brentford.
And he will be a very good signing. Somebody like Emiliano Buendia from Norwich last season.
Oh yeah. He had a great season.
I think that he'll also be. I think Buendia is like Santi Cazorla like for like replacement. If you could get him, but Norwich, especially being relegated, unless somebody swoops in because the window is still open to sign championship players. Unless nobody signs Buendia, I think we would also be in contention for Buendia come January.
Okay, so Buendia maybe our or like that Hungarian guy Dominic Szoboszlai. Vagel Noya adon peru. And yeah, we do have like there's Benrahma as well. But Benrahma, he's more of a winger, so I don't think we'll be going for him even in this position. Yeah, so Okay, so that concludes our party time. So next one வந்து something really sad that happened in the last few days. Jeremy Key, so the guy who was playing the mascot, the Gunner mascot, has been unceremoniously sacked. So இது வந்து ஒரு கிளப்புக்கு வந்து as a club like us, it follows a big decision that was made கொஞ்ச நாளுக்கு முன்னாடி by the higher management, saying that the 55 people were termed as redundancies and they were let go. So from being a club who cared about everyone, like இந்த மாதிரி like the Jeremy Key might not be, அவன் பேர் என்ன, அவன் எப்படி இருப்பான்னு கூட வந்து நம்மளுக்குலாம் தெரியாது. Like we have never seen a photograph. All that we know is like he's the guy who is inside that suit, you know, and he's a guy who's been like doing his thing for the last 27 years. Even if you take 19 games in a season, he was in that costume for 19 games, meeting kids and you know, like talking to them, cheering the team and all. Unless you really love the club, you won't be ready to do something like this for 27 years, you know. So which direction are we going, where are we going, like with the club's values and the club's, you know, like in terms of the cost cutting, like இதெல்லாம் ரொம்ப தேவையான விஷயம் தானே, especially during this time. You might argue that there are no supporters, but still club mascotங்கிறது பெரிய விஷயம். Like is it like, and everybody's taking the mickey out of us, like everybody's trolling us on the internet for that, starting with Sevilla. So இது வந்து ஒரு for me it's very, it saddens me a lot. I don't know what do you guys feel like. I would love to hear what you guys feel about this situation.
I think you resident economics professor மாதிரி காட்டிட்டாரு.
It's always hard when somebody loses their like livelihood. I do not know how much this person was making. I'm pretty sure we have enough.
Oh, you didn't know it's 350k per week.
Those should be listening to this podcast.
So I don't know what to make of this. So we had 55 other redundancies that went out. We don't know anybody else who are key players who could have been valuable members who've been there for 30 years or I don't know, more than that. You know, there are so many nameless people, and this person, they were doing what do you call a motivating, like a positive job, and this spread like wildfire on social media. You know, and also we don't know if this person is coming back when the games are open to everybody.
Oh yeah, he's kicked some. They've told they'll be reinstating him. They'll be giving him his job back when he comes back.
In my opinion, everybody is biting the bullet in these times, in these uncertain times. Certain stories go viral, and this was one of those stories that went viral. And at the same time, I think Arsenal should have done everything in their power to keep everybody on payroll.
Yeah, it's even saddening. இப்போதான் வந்து இப்போ ஒரு இன்னைக்கு தான் ஆக்சுவலாக பார்த்தேன். It's even saddening. Kroenke's net worth is increased, and we've let go of 55 people plus our mascot. So I know, like the owner, he doesn't put money in, எல்லாமே இருக்கு, but இது எந்த விதத்தில் வந்து is it justified? Do you think it's justified in any way, Arvind?
I think it's a very big misconception to link an owner's net worth to a club's operating cost, especially some club like Arsenal, which has been following a self-sustaining model for a very long time. Kroenke he owns 4 to 5 different sport franchises based under the Kroenke Sports Entertainment umbrella. And obviously the pandemic எல்லாத்தையுமே affect பண்ணிருக்கு. Nobody has fans revenues coming off of a lot of those clubs. Kroenke's net worth is increased, but that doesn't mean these clubs are not needing money. Clubs have an operating budget, and on the operating budget, a lot of redundancies are being cut. But pandemic not only in the redundancy cut, one of the reasons why we let a lot of scouts go is because we go into an analytics-based approach for transfers now, which means all these scouts are going to be redundant.
Very redundant, yeah.
ஸோ அவங்க இருக்காங்க போகிறாங்க. ஸ்கவுட் பேஸ்ட் பிஸ்னஸ் தான் ட்ரான்ஸ்ஃபர் பிஸ்னஸ் ஃபார் வெரி லாங் டைம் ஃபுட்பாலில். ஸோ தட் I don't know if it is going to be a good decision or a bad decision at the end of the day. we'll wait to see that, I guess. But somebody like Gunnar Soros, who was announced as being let go temporarily, the optics adala vandu it could have been a lot better. They announced activating parties release cost of 45 million, and in the same breath announced we are going to temporarily pause Gunnar Soros.
Yeah.
So, and look at what Ozil and his PR team did. They amazingly took an opportunity and played it for their benefit. I will go into Ozil a little bit later, but the optics which Arsenal did there was literally equivalent to shooting themselves in the foot. That could have been worked a lot better. But I don't know how we can avoid the more redundancies, especially at a pandemic time. It is going to come, and I feel like 55 mela we could probably go more unless fans are brought into the stadium fast. I mean, which I do not advocate for considering pandemic and everything, but that is the reality we live.
But என்னதான் the pandemic reality இருந்தாலுமே we are not the only club that operates on a self-sustaining model. There are more clubs that earn their revenue through like gate receipts, the number of people coming in and all that. Yeah. So இவ்வளவு இருக்கிறப்ப வந்து not I don't think any other club at this point has had like any redundancies or like people getting let go or anything of that sort. Why is it just us?
A funny data point. Spurs got 175 million pounds loan, which was meant for struggling businesses. Okay, taxpayer money. Alright, do you really think Spurs need that money, considering like the same argument that you made, Dan Levy's worth and like a self-sustaining model?
The manager is Mourinho, so they might.
But I'm saying, like, if they have the power to like get something and like keep people on payroll, they would have done it. I don't think people at Arsenal like letting go of people or furloughing people. Was done lightly, But like Arvind says, there's a rhetoric as well, like the optics of like, would you want to announce it? Why do you really need to announce something that is like really like not positive,
So adula it's business aspect la maybe that's true, but adukku vandu someone offered to pay for Gunnar Soros and like 350k per week, like Arvind said. It was Mesut Ozil. It was a great PR exercise for me. It was completely not required, completely like totally uncalled for at that point. Rohit, your thoughts on that? Like, can he do anything worse to himself at this point than what he's done now? இதுக்கு மேல ஏதாவது கேவலமா பண்ணி கேவலம்னு சொல்ல முடியாது, like doing more things that would make sure that he cannot come and play in the team. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think he paved the way for himself to be left out of the 25-man squad. By doing this, I think this is like see, he has always been like wound up in like these kind of controversies. Like he had controversies with German football team, adukapura inga vandapra adukku munnadi Real. So he is never short of controversies. But idu vandu I would definitely say this is as a PR stunt only. I mean like அவன் அவ்வளவு நல்லவனா இருந்தா அவன் வந்து pay cut எடுத்துக்கணும். அவன் pay cut எடுக்கல. He never took any pay cut. Like he knows he is the most paid member of the team, but he never took any pay cut. அதனால வந்து ஏதாவது பெனிஃபிட் இருந்ததா இல்லையா அது வேற விஷயம். Like he didn't know that 55 people are going to be axed. அது நமக்கு தெரியாது, அப்ப தெரியாது அவனுக்கு. ஆனா but he didn't take that pay cut of 350k. He still got 350k. He didn't play any game, but he was getting good money. So இப்போ வந்து அவன் வந்து இந்த மணி வந்து கனடா சரோஸ்க்கு வந்து ஆஃபர் பண்றது வந்து it is like peanuts. It is just improving his image. So if you see a lot of celebrities, I mean like a lot of followers for Arsenal, like they were like really liking that. I mean like they were like telling like he has a heart of gold and adellame. But I would personally, I mean what I personally feel is like that was not at all required. That was not required. That was unprofessional from him to do that. And this won't go well with the Arsenal board, given all the other brushes he had against them. Definitely this won't go good against them.
Okay, so one point on you said he didn't refuse to take the pay cut. இப்போ வந்து எனக்கு இன்னொரு நான் சொன்ன இது பண்ண மாதிரி ஐ வாஸ் ஜஸ்ட் திங்கிங் டிட் த கிளப் நாட் சப்போர்ட் him enough. இப்போ வந்து if you think about it, there were 3 players in total who took the pay refused to take the pay cut, and he was the only one whose name was leaked out. At the same time, when the China Uyghur Muslims, like when he let those statements out, the club completely distanced themselves from him. You know, club was more concerned. It's and rightfully so. Club was more concerned about its image in China, so it was rightfully so. I totally agree. But இது வந்து இந்த பாயிண்ட் வந்து இது எல்லாமே வந்து ஏன் again is the club again targeting Ozil because of certain things? Like what do you think, Arvind? மிச்ச 2 பேர் வெளியே வரலையே, எந்த பாயிண்ட்லயுமே வெளியே வரலையே.
I think it has a lot to do with the fact that we have been trying to move Ozil from our wage bill. அதுலேருந்து ஆரம்பிச்சு I think one thing that went under the radar was his interview with that athletic reporter, the Arsenal athletic reporter.
Amy Lawrence, yeah.
And adula vandu again he reasoned out as to why he did not take the pay cut. He claimed that he was ready to take a pay cut, ana clarity illa on what that money was going to be used for, and that's why he didn't take a pay cut. I mean, he's traditionally known for being a very philanthropic guy.
Adada, yeah, that's true. That's why it was very surprising too.
Yeah, so Ozil understands that his footballing days are numbered. He doesn't have a national team ambition anymore. He knows for a fact that this is his last year at Arsenal. So all he's trying to do is build up his image to such a height that he will be able to become a brand after this. And there are rumors that Ozil is going to release his own shoe line. And you know, that is for all of that he needs advertisement. And right now whatever he's doing is just building up that brand value so much. It's more of a we may think of it as gimmicky, or we may think of it as okay, he's coming from a really good place, whatever it is. But Ozil is being very shrewd in building his brand up, even though he's not playing or putting performances on the pitch. Outside the pitch, he's definitely building a lot of performances.
Yeah, he is building his brand up. Future use of, well, that's good. That's good from his point. But midfield 3ல யாரெல்லாம் இருக்கலாம்னு பேசிட்டு இருந்தோம். My ideal midfield with the resources that we have would be Ozil, Partey and Xhaka, but that's just a dream. So இந்த இதுல வந்து Prasna, what do you think? Do you think Ozil has a way back now, or is it all done?
Arun, உங்க வாய்ஸ் வந்து பிரேக் ஆயிடுது. எனக்கு ஒண்ணு தான் அந்த மாதிரி இருக்கா? You guys like not able to hear him as well?
Hear properly.
So what was the question? You said partly Ozil and
illa ideally, like we were talking about the 3 midfielders, like 3 midfield. Ideally நம்ம வந்து we would for me my ideal 3 would be Partey, Xhaka and Ozil. So but அது நடக்காது. It doesn't look like happening, at least from my perspective. It doesn't look. Do you think this is the end of Ozil? This is the end of the road for Ozil at Arsenal? Like, is there any way he can come back from this?
See, it's a tricky question. There are so many things at play. Okay, well, there are things that are visible to us. There are things that are not visible to us. Okay, so let me ask you this: Ozil, I know he's outspoken. He has his like own principles and everything. And every time I see like Arsenal training videos, Ozil was always there.
Yeah.
He never misses training. Okay. He has these difference of opinions. There could be philosophical differences between him and Arteta, but at the end of the day, he still plays for the club. I think which is still true. So, it's going to be hard for me not to have a biased opinion. I've been an Ozil fan forever, and I still love him. Okay, for whatever he does, right? I think if I believe in second chances. People like if people make the right moves, I think he should be his position should be entertained, and I think the club, the management, the coach should have an open mind and do what's best for the club.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. So, in other words, doesn't seem to be happening. It is the end of the road for him.
I can't even hear you. I think it's your mic or something.
Arun, when you go onto the other side of the mic, away from the camera, it's tough to hear you. Stay on the other side.
Okay. Ipo, it's okay, Q? கேக்குதா?
You need to come a little closer.
இதுக்கு மேலேயா? என்னோட இதெல்லாம் பீக்கில் போயிட்டுருக்குடா எனக்கு. இல்லை, ஓகே பார்ப்போம். ஓகே, ஸோ தென் இது முடிஞ்சது. Ozil's done, everything is done. Now we are going to the last part of the podcast, which is the Sheffield United game. So the Sheffield game, predictionsலாம் பயங்கரமாக பண்ணியிருந்தோம். அது பண்ண போகிறோம், இது பண்ண போகிறோம், 2-0 and all that. Eventually it ended 2-1. We conceded the goal that we were supposed to concede. Of course, that was a very good shot. But ஒரு மாதிரி வந்து ஒரு ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஹாஃப் வந்து பார்த்தப்போ I don't think any of us were like impressed or having any confidence that we were going to win this game. I don't know, that's what I felt. It didn't seem like we were going to do anything, like, you know, it's not going to be easy. எல்லாமே clean-ஆ தெரிஞ்சுது. So what do you guys like have to say about, like, you know, the game and the goals? We scored 2 goals. அதுவும் 2 கோலுமே வந்து டக்குன்னு வந்த கோல். One was scored by Saka and one by my man Pepe. So Pepe is going to finally do it this season. So இப்படி இருக்கிறப்போ வந்து what do you guys think about the game? First half, second half, what do you guys think? Anything that you thought like we were doing badly or could have done better, or what was your general opinion of the game? Anyone can go for it.
So let me start. I think starting of the podcast, Leah, I mentioned that we made that tactical shift to going to a back 4. And the back 5 இருக்கும்போது, especially with teams,
தைரியம் தான் இல்ல, நல்ல தைரியம் தான், அதுக்குள்ளேயே back 4 போகுது.
I mean, at that point, throw the kitchen sink at them. அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு லெவலுக்கு வந்துட்டோம், to quote Ravi Shastri. So அந்த மாதிரி, especially teams with like a very low block. நம்ம வெஸ்ட் ஹாம் கேம்லயும் பார்த்தோம், they were defending 5 at the back. And அந்த மாதிரி இவ்வளோ பேர் வச்சு டிஃபெண்ட் பண்ணும்போது, we don't have that creative midfielder to you know, break those lanes, to find that second pass or third pass, to create that goal. அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு ப்ளே பண்றதுக்கு புத்திசாலித்தனம் அந்த டீம்ல இல்ல, unfortunately. Sebastian shows some brilliance here and there, but to keep consistently doing that, it's going to be tough. And again, I think that is where, you know, going to a back 4 will especially help. You know, winger like Pepe, who has a lot of pace, and he'll be able to get behind the line with ease. So on the element of our game will be really good. Also, I think we are trying to do a lot in terms of trying to play out of the back. There is so many passes played between Gabriel and Lewis. I feel if those many passes were being played in the midfield or a little higher up the pitch, we'll do a lot better. Gabriel and Lewis are near our defense. And அங்க இருந்து பாஸ் பண்ணி வெளியே வரதுக்குள்ள, by the time Saka or Willian, அவங்களோட first touch like goes away from him so far, and opponent defender can take it off like taking candy from a kid. So in the game, I think especially the last few minutes going to a back 4 opened up a new dimension for us, and I think going forward we would see a lot more attack going to a back 4 and defense playing a 5-4-1.
So first goal by Saka. ரொம்ப நேரத்துக்கு வந்து ஒண்ணுமே நடக்கல. ஏதாவது பண்ணுங்கடான்னு சொன்னதுக்கு அப்புறம் ஏதோ நடந்த மாதிரி இருக்குது. And like they say, when it rains it pours. வந்தது immediately there was another goal. I shouldn't have used the term it pours. We just got 2. But still நம்மளுக்கு இப்போ இருக்கிற நிலைமைக்கு எல்லாமே pours தான். So வந்து the first goal Saka, Puchipima Sama he's Saka has been improving so much in these last few days. He's becoming more and more of a first team player. Interestingly, Jack Wilshere நம்ம இந்த மாதிரி தான் வந்து யூஸ் பண்ணோம். Jack Wilshere on the first season he had a fantastic season, breakthrough, 16 years old, playing 45 games in a season, and then his contract got terminated very recently by West Ham. So இது வந்து ஒரு கம்ப்ளீட்டா வந்து ஒரு இது அந்த மாதிரி. I'm just drawing this comparison just because of how good these two guys are, you know, like ஒரு parallel மாதிரி தான் இருக்கு. They both are being played more and more. Same thing happened with Jack. So in the creative player coming from the academy, like what does it mean for the team? What does it mean for the club? What does it mean for the player himself? You know, like he's also committed to a 5-year contract. So Prashna, what do you think about Saka? The progress that he's made, the way he's playing, the fact that he committed himself is, I would say, like the best part of his first, you know, like so till 25 players when they learn, and he's committed those best part of those years with us. Like, what does it mean for the club and for the production line?
No, I don't know if you heard Saka's interviews when he like signed that extension, and before that, these players looked up to Wilshere, who made it through the ranks and then made it to the first team. Every player, if you look at them, right, they talk about Wilshere. They talk about Wilshere, and with like great visibility, right? There's always like a stress factor. I think from what I've seen, the limited data that I have, I think Saka is one of those people who like just focuses on the game. He stays true to who he is. He stays humble, and the upside that he brings to the club is unbelievable. You know,
And he's so young. He's so young.
yeah, he's so young. The kind of like the moves he makes, the kind of like ability and the potential he has is amazing. I mean, these are his like formative years. So as long as he can keep doing the same things that he's been doing in the last 2 or 3 years, and if he can do that to like when he's like 23, 24, when he's more physically fit, when he's more accustomed to like playing the league week in, week out, he's going to be amazing, you know. And that's what coaches need to do.
I think he's got a best person to help him go there in Arteta.
Yeah, you need somebody who can like not only build the game sense, but also like be a mentor in like personal life as well. Because these guys look up to him. Like that's what like Ferguson did for Ronaldo, and a lot of good coaches. They not only look at like you as a player, a piece in like a game of chess, but they also look at you as a person. You know, like, are you doing the right thing? Are you like being a good citizen? Are you being a good person? Like these are all other aspects of the game that good coaches do, and I think Arteta has like the seeds to do that. You know, and given Arteta what he's done in the short period of time, and the way he talks in these interviews, right, is just amazing.
Yeah.
He just purely doesn't talk about the game. He talks about the personality, the context, and he brings in so many different perspectives. And I think that's amazing. And for somebody who's has like this much potential, and who's somebody who's like absorbing everything like a sponge, I think it's going to be amazing for him.
Let's hope. Here's hoping that he continues to stay here injury free and continues to play well. And next one, second goal, Pepe. So notice பண்ணீங்கன்னா வந்து till Pepe came in, the game wasn't like really, like ஒரு மாதிரி one timers-ல ரொம்ப one timers-ல தான் போயிட்டு இருந்தது. It was a very inspired substitution by Arteta at that point. He didn't start the game. Pepe didn't start the game. Where he's being Willian is being preferred over him. அதுவே வந்து I think it's wrong. Pepe should be starting. But Pepe, when he came in, he was so direct. பயங்கர director. He just went in straight. 2 touches, third touch was a goal. So, Rogi, do you finally agree that it's going to be Pepe's season this time, and he's going to be making a huge difference?
I really hope. I mean, like that is what all the Gunners are hoping for, right? I mean, like, we want Pepe to fulfill his 72 million valuation what he had, and I hope he can replicate that season, which boosted him to one of the best players in the Farmers League. So,
72 million நால நம்ம 72 million நால நம்ம ரொம்ப எக்ஸ்பெக்ட் பண்றோமா?
இல்ல அப்படி இல்ல, அவனோட பொட்டன்ஷியல் வந்து அவன் வந்து லைக் போன இதுல சொன்ன மாதிரி அவன் வந்து ஒரு கான்ஃபிடன்ஸ் பிளேயர். லைக் அவனுக்கு அந்த பூஸ்ட் எப்போ வருதோ அப்போ வந்து அவன் பிரில்லியண்டா பெர்ஃபார்ம் பண்றான். ஆனா வந்து அது வந்து எப்பவுமே அவன் ஷெல்ல இருக்கான். லைக் he is not able to break that shell and come out because he is an amazing dribbler. He is very direct. He has an amazing pace. He can take on 2 or 3 defenders at once and then dribble past them and then shoot. And his left foot is like one of the best in the league. So idellame attributes irukku Pepe kitta. But the only thing is he's little bit, I mean, like he sometimes he kind of overcooks it. Like our defender kada pogumbodhu romba nerama adhe mari, like he tries to dribble and then he loses the ball. So adu mari irukumbodhu that is what he needs to overcome. Like if he gets a chance to pass or if he is having any other kind of option, he has to take that. எல்லாமே அவர் இன்டிவிஜுவலா பண்ணக்கூடாது like that. But in the goal
FIFA-ல செல்ஃப் ஆடுற மாதிரி ஆடிறானா?
ஆமா, அவன் வந்து இந்த கோல் வந்து that is very good. Like he had Oba who was like about to make that run. He saw Oba going there, but he kind of like took on 2 defenders and he did a low cross. That was really amazing. That is good. அவன் வந்து ஓவர் பிளே பண்ணல. அவன் வந்து ஓபாக்கு கிராஸ் பண்ணோம் அது மாதிரி அவன் ஓவர் பிளே பண்ணல. டைரக்டா போனா அடிச்சா முடிச்சான். ஸோ இது மாதிரி தான் அவன் வந்து லில்லியும் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தான் when he was playing in Lily. But இந்த மாதிரி பெப்பே தான் நம்ம பார்க்கணும். This is what we expect from Pepe. Like not the Pepe like we saw against Liverpool where he was not able to put two crosses correctly. I mean, corner எடுக்கும்போது அவன் வந்து என்ன எடுத்தானே தெரியல. It didn't even cross the first defender. அது மாதிரி மொட்டமான and he never did anything. So and if you observe like Pepe வந்து ரைட்ல வந்த அப்புறம் Willian came towards the middle. Willian was more effective when he was playing in the middle.
Yeah.
He was like completely anonymous when he was playing in the right. அவன் வந்து இருக்கானா அவன் என்ன ஆடுறான் ஒண்ணுமே புரியல. I mean and we are playing against Sheffield. We are not playing against like City or any big teams. அதுலயே வந்து Willian was not able to produce that kind of a spark which was needed. So அந்த ஒரு ஆஸ்பெக்ட் நம்ம வந்து பார்க்கணும். Like he is the right hand side the best position for Willian.
That's true. That's very true. So, but anyway, இந்த அடிச்சு புடிச்சு கடைசில 2-1 win பண்ணிட்டோம். And last goal, McGoldrick goal. It was, I don't think it was meant to be a goal. You know, like that was one of those shots that was meant to be a goal on the curve எல்லாம். So 2-1 we won, and thankfully no injuries எதுவுமே இல்லை. So we go into the international break without any injuries. Hopefully come back from the international break without any injuries. So இதில் வந்து like we had few other interesting things that happened. One of them was a huge எப்படி சொல்கிறது ஒரு பெரிய எந்த சந்தோஷப்படுறதா வருத்தப்படுறதான்னு தெரியாத அளவுக்கு ஒரு ரிசல்ட். ஸ்பர்ஸ் பீட்டிங் யுனைடெட் 6-1. அது இந்த ஸ்பர்ஸ் ஜெயிச்சாங்களேன்னு நினச்சி சந்தோஷப்படுறதா இல்லை யுனைடெட் தோத்தாங்களேன்னு நினச்சி இது பண்ண இது என்ன இது ஐ மீன் சாரி ஸ்பர்ஸ் ஜெயிச்சாங்களேன்னு வருத்தப்படுறதா இல்லை யுனைடெட் தோத்தாங்களேன்னு வருத்தப்படுறதானே தெரியல. ஸோ டிட் யூ கைஸ்
எல்லாரும் பார்த்துருப்பீங்க கேடி கிரண் தீனி இஸ் அண்டர் குவாரண்டைன்.
Yeah, he is. I think it's mostly like idon nadakadu mostly, but he'll be fit for the City game. I don't think.
Back for the next game, City or
Yeah, he'll be back. But you know, you think about it, all the teams like Liverpool had money, but the rest of the players were still playing. So I don't think it's going to be an issue. But this game, 6-1 United, and another game, 6s and 7s. It was 6s and 7s with Liverpool losing with conceding 7 goals. Yeah, and our first one வந்து like United Spurs. I want to put it out there. Do you guys think it was a Mourinho masterclass or it was a Manchester United implosion?
I think it was very much United implosion. That's all. You know, they had the right team. This same United team went last season and they were on a crazy run after the restart. And right now, to begin the season, they've lost 2 games. And that is in the way they've lost, especially this last game, was inexcusable. I think they were a little unlucky with the red card for Martial.
Yeah, oh my God.
It was both of them. ரெண்டு பேரும் கைப்பிடிச்சு விளையாடிட்டு இருக்காங்க. ஒருத்தனோண்டி என்ன கைப்பிடிச்சு
அதான் அதுக்கப்புறம் எதுக்கு லமேலா இன்னும் அதுக்கப்புறம் எப்படி இருந்தானே எனக்கு I still don't understand.
That is called karma, right?
For all the penalties that they got last season, I think it is long due. But the United team, for all the hype Bruno Fernandes came with after creating like 4 through balls, ஒரு கேம்ல பிரைட்டனோட போட்டான். அவனை வந்து நெக்ஸ்ட் இனியஸ்டா ரேஞ்சில் பேசிட்டு இருந்தா யுனைடெட் ஃபேன்ஸ். இப்போ he's been exposed against a team that has been that has like really good defensive organization. அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு டீமோட இவனால ஒன்றும் பண்ண முடியல. So far he's got 2 goals and an assist. 2 goal penalty தான். So I think United are going to have a harsh slap in the face this season, especially the fact that the board hasn't supported Ole at the wheel. He's
பாவமா இருக்கு அவனை பார்த்தா ஒரு விதத்துல பாவமாவும் இருக்கு. பாவம் வந்து like he's trying his best.
person is only the right person, you know.
he for us, yes. From an opposing standpoint, yes, Ole is the best person. But I think United are going to see the effects of pretty much what we saw under Emery last season. A lot of similarities. Namakom starting of the season, Ozil and Kolasinac were involved in a kidnapping controversy. Inga vande Maguire vande company vandan. So there are a lot of similarities between their start to this season, our start to last season. We all know what happened to Emery after December. I think Ole is looking at the same trajectory.
So last season they punched above their weight.
I would tend to agree. So their end of the fixtures at the season, it was pretty easy. We saw what they did against Sevilla in the semi-final when they found a matching worthy opponent. மற்றவங்கெல்லாம் விளையாடினதெல்லாம் middle table teams. They had only two top 10 opponents after the restart, so it was pretty easy for them. And now after Europa, when things started to go downhill, now after, especially with the short pre-season that they had, a lot of controversies, now they're seeing the effects of it.
So the reason why I'm talking about this United Spurs game is because those two are the of the other 4-5 teams that will be fighting for the third and fourth spot. Even ரெண்டு பேர் வந்து they'll be like a really important opponents for us because they have the quality, the squad to be consistent throughout the season, unlike a Leicester or an Everton. So the next game, Liverpool, Aston Villa. Did you expect that, Rohit?
No, definitely. I mean, nobody. That's what I kind of whoever would have guessed this scoreline, right? I mean, if you would have placed a $10 bet, you would have got $1 million back. I mean, that would be the kind of a prediction which would be which took place. Seriously, nobody would have predicted 7-2. Liverpool were completely devastated. They were destroyed by Villa. Villa were very good. I mean, I watched the match. It was amazing. Grealish, Barkley and that Wilkins, those three were running the show. And Van Dijk was he was kind of a West Brown for United, or maybe yeah, he was completely outplayed by Villa. That was really surprise, but I really feel Klopp missed Mane, Alisson and all. I mean, those guys were crucial for their thing, but they still had a very decent squad, except for Mane and Alisson. All others were there in the squad, and still they were not able to perform or not able to compete at the same level, and that was shocking. So that brings us to the original question of, did we give them a lot of respect when we played them a week before? This is what is puzzling. When they played us, they played as if it was Champions League final.
Very true, very true. I was very surprised. Yes.
Yeah, their pressing was so good. I mean, they were fortunate enough that Mane wasn't sent off. That is a different case. Yeah, but they played really well. But in last game, there was no intensity. Salah had two kind of individual brilliance, which he scored 2 goals. But apart from that, they were all over the place. I mean, they never looked even hitting 3 goals or something. Given that even Villa had kind of a luck riding on them, they had 3 deflections, but that means that 4 deflections or something. But that means that they tried hard. I mean, when you have those shots put across in the opponent box, and that is how it goes inside the net, right? I mean, so that means to say Liverpool never kind of pressed nor kind of did any kind of pressure against Villa. I mean, I was pleased when I was they had to score that 8th goal. I was so praying that so that we would be the only ones dubious scoreline. But unfortunately, Wilkins missed that one-on-one chance. Yeah.
Yeah,
It should have been 8, 9 or 10. I think how many chances they had.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I don't think this is going to be a situation where it's a template for teams to unlock Liverpool and then score goals against them. Pretty sure they're going to bounce back and they're going to be back on track. They're still my team to win the league. So that concludes our podcast for today. We spoke about a few interesting things, most of them Arsenal related, a couple of things not Arsenal related. I don't know how the listeners are going to react to that, given that we have a few people from other clubs as well listening to it. I hope to see you guys again next week for the next podcast, where we'll be talking about more interesting stuff. So till then, here is me, Arun, signing off from this one. Thanks a lot for joining, guys. Thanks a lot for being with us for this episode of Your Pierre, your weekly Arsenal Tanglish podcast. We'll be back again next week with more interesting topics, so stay tuned.